Okay, I'd like to call to order the meeting of May 13th. Order, please. Brett, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mary, roll call.
Keith Guidry,
Here.
Ronald Colley, Roland Curall,
Here.
Mitch Danoff,
Here.
Brett DeRoche,
Here.
Scott Terrio,
Here.
Brian Marks, McNeely Rome,
Here.
Monty Vegas.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. All right, gentlemen, you've been presented minutes of the regular meeting from April 8th. No motion to accept. Moved by Monty, second by Mac. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Also, at a special meeting on May 8th. Motion by Brett, second by Mac. All in favor to accept?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, on the President's report, we just all got back from our ALBL workshop in Baton Rouge. I think it went very well, very informative, and we got to see a lot of people and talk to a lot of people. Anybody else has any comments about it or?
Governor was
complaints?
there? Governor didn't show up?
No, but close.
Okay.
Doug Sherman.
Oh, no. How close you were to that?
Anything on the executive committee meeting over there?
No, nothing more than, okay, and then I was informed we're gonna have a public hearing for review of our 2025 budget at 3 o'clock on our next meeting. And then our meeting will follow that. We have to make it to the public, right?
That's a typo. It should be the amended 2024 budget.
Okay, whatever Mary said. Okay, and then moving on to the executive committee, Mr. Ronald, not here to report it. I understand he's doing better, but I'll just quickly go over a couple of things from our executive committee. Nick brought up to us about rejoining the MAC, Morgan's Action Coalition. He says there's some benefits and all. What we've done, he's gonna do more research for us on the cost and the lobbyists and all that, and then we'll bring it back to the board for a final decision, hopefully at our next meeting. Also, Nick presented us a quote from Sunshine Equipment to purchase a replacement tractor. I asked him to defer it to the Maintenance and Equipment Committee, so they're gonna meet. And the same thing on an excavator that we need to replace is gonna go to the Maintenance and Equipment.
We're still waiting on a couple quotes, so as soon as we get those in, we'll contact the committee to schedule a meeting.
And then I'm assuming by now everyone made aware we had an incident on the lock where our lock operator got end of a finger cut off by some grating, but he was Drake and then transported him to Levee and then transferred him to what it was? University Hospital, and he's expected back to work, and he is back to work.
Came back Saturday, yes.
He wanted to come back that night. Also, the committee reviewed the bid tabulation on the Britain Canal weir. Nick informed the committee GIS Engineering would be recommending award at the upcoming board meeting, and that'll be done today. Okay. We were made aware also of committee that the Scully Corporation should be returning comments this week on a letter that was drafted an agreement to cover the discharge pipes on section E North. Nick recommended board approval of the agreement at the board meeting, so we're ready for that, Nick?
Today, yes, we got those comments back.
Okay. All right. My recommendation that we approve this, correct?
We'll talk about that in my report.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, good. And this. Nick informed us that the committee, they contacted NVI of Shreveport for proposed work, scope of work, and cost estimate to analyze and inspect the remaining life of the discharge pipes at pump station number 4, which would then be used in the budget for additional analysis on the remaining pump station in the future. That's it, huh? The other stuff has been,
The theft,
the
vandalism theft thing? The Senate?
did I pass that one up again?
You did. Yeah, right after Cleveland.
Yes, we had an incident of vandalism at pump station number 4 by the Yankee Canal. All the parts have been replaced and all that, but it was some Camelot fittings and some piping and all that. Should have
Last
been next
bowl
week.
on the compressor.
Right. If you hear anything in the public, please let us know. Okay, do we need to accept the committee's report? No. Motion?
Yes, go ahead.
We do? Okay. I see a motion. Moved by Monty, second by Brad. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. All right. Moving on, audience comments. Tax assessments, Wendy Thibodeau. You have the floor.
Don't forget that any other audience.
Okay, so I was asked by Mr. Mathern to come and do my process presentation. It's been 9 years since I've done this. I went around in 2015 to all the taxing districts. So whoever was on this board in 2015, I know some of the vendors in here, they've seen this numerous amounts of times. I think Daniel Lorraine holds the record for seeing it the most. But I went around 2015 to every single solitary taxing district, and at that time we had 64 taxing districts. I went to every one of them and did this presentation. It's just a process of visual aid to help everybody understand how reassessment and the rolling forward and the rolling back happens and what you have to do as a board and how it affects the public. Okay, so I apologize, the numbers are a little rough because it's been that old. I mean, he's been through a lot, my little faucet guy here. So I'm going to brief you a little bit on what I do as the assessor as far as reassessment goes. So right now I am currently in the process, me and my staff, of reassessing property. What I'm doing is taking everything that was on the 2023 tax roll for Lafourche Parish and I'm revaluing it. It is a constitutional amendment required by the law that I am mandated to revalue every single property, every single item that's on that tax roll, including pipelines, inventory, houses, commercial properties, everything. I have to revalue it. The last time it was revalued was in 2020. That was the last time we had a statewide mandated reassessment. Well, we all know in 2021 we had IDA. So there are what I call Katrina laws that allowed me to lower the values for that 1 year. As you all know, I lower the values according to the damage in the local areas. But the law only allows me to do that for 1 year. So in 2022, I had to put it back to the last state mandated values, which was in 2020. Okay, so everybody's values is at 2020 right now. Well, 2024 is a state mandated reassessment. I have to go through and revalue all of the properties again, according to cost minus depreciation, what it costs to build something, minus its depreciated effective age. And I also have to take into consideration sales approach, any sales in that area. So I break down the parish according to what I call neighborhoods. It doesn't mean that it's your neighborhood, what you call a neighborhood, it's what I call a neighborhood. And I break down the whole parish according to neighborhoods by similar, like, kind, and quality of properties. Okay? So the way I explain it to people is I say, okay, so in this neighborhood, I take all of the houses, think of it like a bowl of fruit. I take the neighborhood and I break down all of the houses that are like apples. They all look like the same kind of apple. Some apples are a little bit shiny, some apples are a little bit brighter, some apples have a little couple of dents in them, they have a little bruise in them, and I take the average dollar per square foot, or the average price of an apple. That's the going rate for an apple. And then I apply it to all of the apples in the neighborhood. Sometimes I have to make adjustments for the bigger apples, and sometimes I have to make adjustments for the dents in the apples. But it's all on a case-by-case basis. Just to give you a general idea of what I'm doing right now. So I'm going through the whole parish and breaking out the bananas, the grapes, the apples, the fruits. I'm doing all of that right now and putting a value on it. Now, once I've completed that process in my office, this is where my office is going to kick in. So once I've completed that process, the law also mandates me to take those numbers. Now remember, I'm revaluing 2023's tax roll. It's anything that was on the tax roll last year. We're not talking about 2024. Anything that was on the tax roll in 2023, I'm revaluing it. I'm going to take that value and I send it to the legislative auditor. Okay? So to apply it to the faucet, I want you all to think, I know the number's wrong, but this pipe right here on the faucet, this represents the 2023 tax roll. Okay? So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking the 2023 tax roll and I'm revaluing it. Most of the time when the properties, they appreciate, they don't depreciate. So what it's going to do is it's going to make this pipe bigger. 2023, revalue. So when that happens, the law requires me to take this value, the value of my new pipe, and I have to send it to the legislative auditor. Because the Constitution also says that a taxing district cannot collect $1 more in 2024 by making a bigger pipe than what they did in 2023. Okay? So the only way to do that, there's 3 steps to a calculation on getting revenue. You have the value, and then you have the rate, which is the millage rate. The millage rate is represented by this nozzle right here. Okay? So what happens is, I send this number to the legislative auditor. The legislative auditor is going to adjust the rate up or down so that the taxing district collects the exact same amount that they did in 2023. They're going to collect the same exact amount in 2024. So that the same amount of water, no matter how big the pipe was, the same amount of water comes out. Okay? This is your dot, the water is represented. It represents the money. Okay? So, if I make the pipe bigger, the legislative auditor is going to roll the millage down in order to get the same amount of money coming out the faucet. Okay? Now, once that happens, the legislative auditor sends me that numbers and I'm going to turn around and I'm going to send it to you all. At that time, you all have to make a determination on whether you are going to roll the millage back up to where if you do, it would generate more revenue. Because the pipe's not going to get smaller. Your rate is going up and it generates more revenue for the district. On top of that, now I have to take everything new that was not on the 2023 tax roll, and then at this point in time is when the assessor's office values any new property coming onto the tax roll. So that's going to make your pipe even bigger. Which in turn, if the rate is up, is going to generate even more money without even doing anything. Okay? So, what I have always preached ever since I became assessor is that in order to keep business in business, you know, because we are on difficult times, especially with our businesses, that if a district needs, I use the fire department all the time. So if a fire department needs a new fire truck, adjust your millage rate. Just because the voters voted and said that your millage rate, which I'll have here, 12? 4? We're just going to go with 5. Let's just pick 5. Say the voters voted for this district to have 5 mills. 5 mills generates $500,000 for this district. And you only need a $200,000 fire truck. There's nothing in the law that says that you have to raise it to the maximum millage rate. If you only need $200,000, you can levy this amount to get what you need, generate the revenue to keep your district running. I am in no way, shape, or form saying that I know what it costs to run this, I know, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, as taxing districts, we need to be mindful on what we're taxing the people. If we only need a $200,000 fire truck, then let's levy the millage that generates $200,000. Let's not levy 5 mills that generates $500,000 and put $300,000 in savings. Now, I do know that districts, especially with levy districts, I just want to be clear, I do understand that y'all have to have stuff in order for the state and the federal government to match and all that other stuff. I'm just saying that if there is somewhere where you can levy a lesser amount of millage rate, anything you can do helps. I'm not here to try and advocate to hurt the district, because when a hurricane comes, I like the levy. I like it. And I just go around explaining this to the different taxing districts, because there are taxing districts that can cut. And they can do less millage rates and still get more money.
And then you can always increase it.
And you can always increase it again. The thing is that I tried to pass Constitution Amendment number 5 in 2022 to where it wasn't forced, it wasn't mandated for taxing districts to levy that maximum millage rate, but it failed. You know, that there were no consequences to taxing districts that didn't overtax the public, but that failed. So you are back to the original way, and you do have to levy that maximum rate before 2028. Or else you would lose that maximum rate. But right now, y'all, everybody's fine. Like, but you can, it's just because the people voted on it doesn't mean that you have to max it out every year. And so if there are spots that you can cut and places that you can cut, that's all I've ever asked for, is for the districts to cut where they can. Especially right now, because I know you all have heard it, and y'all probably living in it, with the increases in insurance and so forth. And it's vital that we try and keep as low a millage rate as possible in order to keep the businesses in business and homeowners in their homes and governmental services still providing service for the public. So does anybody have any questions?
So in 2020, you said that 64 districts. Do you know how many we have now?
52.
More? Oh, so we get one.
No, we eliminated. When we went and did we eliminated some over the time, but this last election cycle with the parish government, it eliminated three drainage districts. That's not what I had. I think it's 3 drainage, they consolidated the 3 drainage
You say maybe
districts.
about 52 now?
I think it's 52 the last time I counted. Now, I haven't gotten the districts this year,
Yeah.
but I know we're going down. And listen, it's easy to sit in, the armchair and say, you should do this and you should do that. I do not try and pretend that I know how much it costs to run this. I do know that we need vital, governmental services. There are some that are vital to the existence of this parish. And I do not try and, I stay in my lane. And I just try and advocate for anywhere we can cut, that we do cut. And if you ever have any questions, I know the roll forward process is going to be coming up. We're shooting to have it done by the end of June, but with the insurance, that's having a negative impact on my staff on how to come up with a dollar value for the depreciation that insurance is causing, because there is no data. When something doesn't sell, and it's because of insurance rates, because of what the insurance premiums are, it's just not existent. So it's a battle that I'm arguing with the state right now, and with the tax commission, and with the legislators on trying to find some kind of avenue that I can give some depreciation because of the obsolescence that insurance increases are causing. But what I'm saying is that I have to value property like it's supposed to be valued. What I'm saying is that the decision making on whether the taxes go up or down is up to you. Districts like you, I should say. But if you have any questions, and when I do send that and y'all are faced with the task of whether you want to roll forward or roll back, I'll be more than happy to come back here. And you'll know what that number is. You'll know what this number is. because I won't have this number until the tax roll is almost complete, just because everything's so far pushed back. But you will have this number, and in order to roll forward, you have to know what that increase, when your millage rate is from here to here, when the legislative auditor says what your adjusted rate is to this, in order to roll forward, you have to advertise how much of an increase this district will receive by doing that. So you will have that from our office. You will know how much that increase is.
So Wendy, that number, so this is the reassessment of the 2023 tax roll from the 2020 assessment, correct?
Correct.
So that number, what have y'all seen so far?
Decreases.
Okay.
The whole thing in 2020, I believe that your millage rate went up because of the decrease in 2020, am I correct?
I'd have to go back to that one.
I'm 99% sure it went, because all of my districts, south of the intercoastal, south of from the intercoastal down, if you weren't a parish-wide district, they went up. And that's what happens, just like I said, that the pipe gets bigger and the legislative auditor adjusts your millage rate down. When the pipe gets smaller, she adjusted up. Because the district has to receive the same amount of money that it did the year prior to reassessment in the reassessment year. So if you collected $500,000 in 2023, in 2024, you're gonna collect $500,000. It just depends on how much value you have on your tax base, whether the legislative auditor is gonna go up with your millage rate or gonna go down with your millage rate. Because the district has to collect the same amount of money. And in 2020, what happened is that the tax base went down because of the downturn in the oil and gas industry in 2017. So when I reassessed in 2020, the 2019 tax roll was larger than what the revalued 2020 reassessment generated. Therefore, the legislative auditor rolled your millage rate up in order for this district to collect the same amount of money as it did in 2019.
So you're saying that we're going down even further than that large, I'm assuming?
I'm not 100% sure. There's a couple of things that have occurred. One thing is that the watercraft tables are back to where they in 2008. So there was going back and forth with the watercraft tables. That's a whole nother day, a whole nother presentation. But we agreed to go back to the 2008 watercraft tables. That cost us $15 million last year. But I'm glad it didn't happen in a reassessment year. So now we're back at the 2008 values of the watercraft. So that's where it was most stable. That's where industry and assessors agreed it was the most stable tables, and that's why we agreed to it. That'll be back. It's not going to be 15 million, but at least it's not losing 15 million. But something else that occurred last year is that there was a 10-year lawsuit between Lamoga and Loga and all of the chemical and oil and pipeline, oil and gas industry. That was finally settled, and they agreed upon an income approach instead of a cost and sales approach. And with income, you know, it fluctuates. That cost Lafourche Parish $6 million last year. Just that. Now that's going to be, that's going to more equalize out now that those are the tables. They're set. They even passed that in legislation, so the tax commission can't even change that. That's going to be our new normal. So that kind of costs us money. The thing about the South Lafourche area is that we were already in the hole in 2020. Okay, so we lost. Parish-wide, we lost $12 million in 2017 because of the downturn in the oil and gas industry. 2020, we lost $2 million because of COVID and in different businesses that had closed and so forth. In 21, we lost $30 million because of Ida. We had never, when Ida happened, we've never even made up 0.5% of 2017 because our parish is so heavily reliant on the oil and gas industry. So we never did make it up to get back to where we started before we had to take $30 million off for the hurricane. And I still have properties, I mean, this is reality. I still have properties that are damaged by the storm, and they are entitled to that depreciation as long as they can come and prove it to it.
That sounds one that normally you would anticipate
An
a
increase.
bigger pipe because
Yes.
of inflation, but because we still have.
Just to put this in
damage.
perspective, when I originally did this presentation in 2015, Watercraft made up 41% of our tax base. We collected $51 million from Watercraft alone. It's not oil and gas, it's not house, it's not Walmart, it's not fiber optic lining, strictly Watercraft. We collected $51 million. Last year in 2023, we collected $20 million from Watercraft. It's 19.8% of my tax base.
Hold on.
But that is the reality of it. And when we're dependent on something with a propeller that moves, I mean, that's it. And look, with the Constitutional Convention, they are looking at Article 7. And that is all your taxes. That's income, property, sales tax, and in there is Watercraft. And inventory. Inventory is only like 6-8% of our, depending on what we get. We get a little influx because I'm not allowed, because Loop is a foreign trade zone, I'm not allowed to tax oil there. And on top of it, they have different tanks that are not foreign trade zone, so I can't tax oil at its first place of sale. Loop is always the first place of sale. But when they go and they open up the pipeline and they ship it to Marathon in St. James Parish, and St. James's tanks are full, and they like, oh, what we're gonna do? They open up the pipe and they send it back to Loop, and at that point, I can tax it. And that is a big influx. Like, I got some of that this year, but I don't know how much money that is actually going to generate. But it's little things. It's never gonna make up what we've lost. I'm nowhere close to that. But look, I'll take $2 million here, I'll take $2 million there. But now, the thing is that I'm happy that it happens, but I don't like it because these districts see the $2 million increase, and then they think they can hire people. But the reality is, when Marathon gets a buyer for their oil to refine it, the first oil they're gonna sell is the one that's not on that tank farm. They're gonna sell it from Loop first. So then there goes the $2 million. Like, we don't ever keep it for more than 1 year. That's why I don't announce that to you. I was like, oh, we got a whole bunch of oil. I don't announce that because it comes in, but it goes out very quick. And it has to be timing. If the oil has to be here on January 1st, or we don't see. Like, I promise you there's oil that comes in all year long and leaves, but I can only tax it. The law stipulates that I can only tax everything as of its situs on January 1st. So the oil has to be in Loop for the second time, and it has to be here on January 1st. So we did get some airplanes back, helicopters back, which when the airport, Briscoe. When Briscoe closed, we lost a ton of money. That was part of that 2017 downturn. We did. We had helicopters that were worth that were generating $500 million a piece. So we got some of those back. It's coming back. It's just coming slow. I don't want to tell you that you're going to make up what you did from 2020 because we are so far in the hole. I mean, that killed us.
There's a lot of people that left and they come
Yes.
back, so a lot of properties is going to be
Yes,
lower.
so that is a whole nother concern that I have brought up to the state level. I was on the governor's transition team, and that was a huge concern that I advocated for. I'm like, you'll have to understand that when you are putting these insurance premiums on people and they can't live here, I mean, the reality is that people have mortgaged their homes, you know? And when you have a mortgage, that escrow is included in your homeowner's insurance. So it doesn't matter if that homeowner's insurance increases and they can't afford their house note, they have few choices to make. One is to abandon the property. Two is to sell it for whatever they owe the mortgage company. Just sell it at a discount. And then they can foreclose on the property, the mortgage company can foreclose. All three of those scenarios are not good because what happens is it creates blight. And it also eliminates generating revenue for governmental services. So the very people that have to go out, it attracts crime, fires, you know, all of the negatives in a neighborhood. What happens is the sheriff and fire department have to go take care of those. They got to provide the governmental services to those areas, but yet it's not paying for the governmental services because it's not generating revenue. It's a cycle, but, you know, I will be honest with you, a lot of what I'm seeing is it is statistically normal after a storm. What happened after Katrina to the east and what happened to the west of the state, I'm seeing the same thing. You know, we are not out of the norm. This is exactly what they're all doing. You know, just like the fire department had to ask for more millage, that's very typical. And that's why you'll see their millage rates higher than the rest of the state, is because the infrastructure is not there, the tax base has been cut, and that's the only way to do it, is to increase sales tax or ad valorem tax.
Thank you, Fossil.
Because after Rita, Cameron Parish went up to 181 mills, and it's because half of that tax base was wiped out. Yes. So does anybody, please don't let me end on that negative note. Please ask me a positive question.
I think as a board, we'll have to get more information from Nick and Mary before we determine.
Yeah. I'm gonna send you a note. It's gonna be the official document from the legislative auditor, and it's gonna have what your tax base generates, value-wise, and then it's gonna tell you what your revenue is gonna be. And you're gonna see the 2023 value, and you're gonna see the 2024 with the adjusted rate that those two numbers match.
Okay.
It has to match or she won't accept it from me. So, but if you don't have any questions and you want me to come back at that time, look, my door, just let me know. I'll come, I'll dust the faucet off again. But thank you all for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You tell them that the Thibodeau people over there in their businesses too to keep it down, huh?
To be honest with you, they're growing.
Huh?
Oh, yeah,
It's
growing.
Oh, yeah,
It's growing.
everybody moving in there.
Yeah.
It is. Thibodeau is growing. That's why you see in your parish-wide districts not seeing the decrease in their villages. Because what they're losing in the southern part of the parish is being made up by the northern part of the parish. That's why in 2020, that's what happened. South Lafourche was losing because statistically, what I've experienced is that the southern part of the parish is very parallel to the oil and gas industry. When they're doing good,
Yep.
we do good down here. When they're not doing good, then we don't. It's very parallel. To where the northern part of the parish, they got the hospital that's really making up a lot of, it used to just be the port, to where now the hospital is growing a
John Deere.
lot. And they're
John Deere.
employing people and stuff, yeah. So.
John Deere,
In John Deere, we got the ITEP exemption on that one, and they're growing. They got a whole nother phase that they're expanding, which is good. But I do think it's cyclical. I mean, it's going to take a little while after the storm, but do I think that it's devastating us? No. We're in much better shape than I anticipated.
Yeah.
It's not where I want it, but it's better than what I thought.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else to address the audience? Anybody else from the audience to address the board? I'm sorry. Daniel?
Oh, wait, let me get one last time.
Good evening, gentlemen. The reason why I'm here is because South Lafourche levee probably has the greatest levees in the whole United States. I think the last hurricane proved that, but nothing says that a levee cannot break at any time. Can happen, hopefully it'll never happen. But what I'm here for is south of the Leon Terrio floodgates. We have two little levees, Serigny and Mobley, well, Mobley and Serigny. That was built by the parish before I was in office. And I've been there 41 years, so that was way before my time. And all those levees were built they were not built for hurricane protection, they were built for tidal flow. And it has done the job, basically. It's been a nightmare for me in the 40 years that I served, because we had to address it quite often. In fact, when Juan hit in 1985, we were able to recap Mobley and Serigny all together. But if you look at Mobley and Serigny, they had two pumps, one electric pump at Mobley and one mechanical pump at Serigny. And the hurricane wiped it all out. And it's gone on 3 years, and they have like 3 families lived there. And at one time, there was a bunch of families. And they were offered to move out by the government. Some took it, some didn't. And I've been trying to get these pumps put back, but for some reason, The parish president, I talked to him personally, asked him, and he's really not into putting them back. I brought it up at a council meeting. He said he wasn't. And I know it's out of your jurisdiction, but what concerns me is that if you look at Mobley, just a little Mobley, connects to Lafourche Levee. There might be 3 families on the other side, but you got 20,000 families on this side. Because I would tell you, no matter where your levee breaks, if it breaks, and we hope it don't break, everybody floods into 10th Ward. And I think 1985 proved that. Whatever the water height is on the other side of the levee, it's gonna balance off, and it has to be pumped out. Same thing over there. It would be so easy to save this property by putting one little electric pump and you can put 2 electric pumps, one for Serenity and one for Mobley, and it would work. We got 2 private citizens who's pumping. One is pumping Mobley. In fact, he's a Mobley. Yeah, Brian. He goes and pump it with his own pump. And then they got a fella that's in that mobile home. He's from Baton Rouge. He's pumping. And the water's down a little bit. But if we're just gonna let it all erode, it doesn't make sense. I mean, you got Ducks Unlimited getting ready to do a $6 million project right on the side of that. And they've done projects in Golden Melody, all these terraces, which helps out the wildlife and it helps out your levee because it's a water break, you know. So that's the only thing that I got to say is that I don't know if you could do anything or not, but I just think, you know, I think if we put back 2 pumps, we're good. But I can't get the administration to do that. Maybe you can assist me in trying to get that done. I'm not asking you to do it, I'm just asking you to assist us. Because the years that I've been here, we've always worked together. A lot of times, when I first started, we had no money. The Levee District helped us out a lot on different little projects, plenty. And they've always done a real good job. I mean, y'all do all the pumping. You got 3 major pump stations on the west, you got 3 major pump stations on the east. Y'all do all the pumping. Good system, big reservoirs, do a real good job. And y'all handle a lot of water in 24 hours. So all I'm asking for is if you can assist some kind of way or not, help me, whatever, to try to get a couple of pumps put below the lawns. And that's it.
I think it's something that we could just get it, you know, look into. If they come back and tell us it's a plus or a not for us to push it, I mean, we can just give them our opinion, you know.
My concern on that is when the water was high, I had showed Nick some pictures and he had gotten with Archie, and my thing is, and Joe, with the line that's running through there and it was water all around, I mean, that's not a good thing of having a, you know what I mean, full of water all around the pipe of the levee. Yeah. Can we do something just to keep, either a little barrier for cement to keep around the pipes? You know what I'm saying? Because it's gonna come back again, you know what I mean, the tide. I mean, since he is pumped out, I mean, now you can see grass, you know what I'm saying? It made a big change. Nowhere near our levee and the pipe, you know what I mean? But at one time, it was all around the discharge pipe. That was, you know what I mean? That was a concern of mine, that being the water all around that pipe, around the levee, I mean, that's nothing to have, you know what I mean, some kind of leak, even just down the pipe and then spread open the levee. So I don't know if you want to maybe get Joe to maybe look at that, you know what I mean, and come up with something. And as far as the pipes on there, as the levee, we can't do nothing with that, you know what I mean? Because it's going to be a continued, you know what I mean, it's going to be eroded, it's coming back. You know?
I would say the most vulnerable spot there is for anything to have mishap to happen would be the south end. It could happen anywhere, but that would be more. But let me give you a good example. 6, 7 years ago, we built the boat launch in Levee. But when they done that, we buckheaded and we rocked it. It wouldn't be there today. It would be gone. So that's the comparison that I make. I know one day that little bit land that you have left there, it's gonna go. But if you can try to help prevent it from going, be a feather in your cap. But anyway, that's all I got. Anybody else?
Appreciate it.
If not, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yep.
I guess I'll jump in and say, so Daniel did take me down to that site, spoken with Daniel, spoken with Archie about it, spoken with Mitch Ogeron, parish administrator. There are a number of issues with that site. The parish's stance at this point is that there were pumps before Ida. Those got either damaged by Ida or removed after Ida. Where they are, I'm not sure. Not to incite Daniel anymore, but I'll say that. If the parish were to try to get FEMA to reinstall those pumps as damage from Ida, it would be several millions of dollars, because since those pumps were put in, the base flood elevation in the area has changed. It's what we refer to as a VE zone, and so the elevation that the pumps would have to be set at is astronomically high for that area. In practical terms, it's ridiculous that it would have to be that high. But so the parish would have to do it on their own dime, and so the parish administration feels that it's more fiscally responsible to try to buy those two individuals out than to spend the money on putting the pumps back in place. And that's kind of the stalemate that Mr. Lorraine's referring to, that, you know, as the councilman, he's fighting for his people who want to stay in their house. And the parish is looking at it from strictly a numbers standpoint. Which right or wrong is it's not for me to say, you know, but that's just a little more background of that situation.
And I can understand that, Nick, if, you know, just the two people seem to save that. But if it's a plus or a hindrance to our system, then maybe, you know,
I'll say, any land between us and the Gulf is positive.
it's something we could try to just push a little bit, maybe.
Originally, my only concern with doing any work in there would be before Ida, the area inside the little levees was not subject at all to tidal flow. Since then, any breaches would potentially cause the Corps of Engineers to call it waters of the United States and wetlands. And so if we try to fill in or around there, we'd not only have the cost of doing that, but also the mitigation costs of impacting the wetlands. So there are many layers to this issue. Now, we can continue to look at it, obviously. Hopefully the parish can come to their own resolution.
Right, that's what I would like for the parish to.
That's the easiest thing.
If we could push it. You know.
Pay the diesel, keep going.
Okay.
Could we even put our money outside the district? Is it legal?
We can. That's what I was looking up while Daniel was speaking.
Before you end this conversation, I'd like to make a public comment, if that's okay.
Come on.
Your tax bill.
Yeah, well, before she begins, that's what I was looking up while Daniel was talking, the original language of the act that created us. We would have the ability, because our jurisdiction is not just the La Rosa to the Meta system. Our jurisdiction is the south bank of the Intracoastal on to 3 miles out into the Gulf from parish line to parish line. For the purpose of constructing, maintaining levees, drainage pumps, canals, seawalls, jetties against hurricane or tidal waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Right. So we would have the ability if the parish can't come to the solution.
Hey there, I'm Janet Rodas. First of all, I'd like to invite all of you to our Louisiana Bullets and Balloon Festival we're having at Golden Meadow Park this weekend, Friday night and Saturday. We'd love to have you all. Daniel makes valid points, but this just does not impact the south of the levee. I live on the other side of the levee, and ever since Ida and all of the standing water and the water's not being pumped out is creating a huge mosquito issue with all the standing water. I mean, the people on the other side, they can't go out practically during the day. Once it gets late evening, I can't go out and enjoy my home because of all the standing water. I contacted DHH, which is over standing water and mosquitoes in the state, and they said that I have to file a formal complaint against each property owner because they're responsible for having standing water on their property. And that's, you know, and that's contributing to the mosquitoes. No, it's not. These poor people, they didn't have that before Ida, and now they're having to deal with it now. The one guy that's pumping out of his own expenses has 300 gallons of gas he's burning to pump water off the property. I mean, and also to have current, a constant wave action or moisture coming up against the levee every day, I mean, that can't be good. I mean, this isn't my area of expertise or my forte, but doesn't take much to realize that all that water can't be good for the levee, and it's definitely not good. Is there potential West Nile? I've asked DHH to come out and put some traps to see, but this factor, I mean, this issue just does not affect on the south side of the levee. It's on the north side as well. But y'all do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to address the board? Okay, we'll move on to our general manager report.
Thank you, Mr. President. First up, we previously got approval to apply for a new credit card. We got authorization to change the credit card name from Wendell's name into my name for the levee district for daily purchases that require a credit card instead of a check payment. Mary has tried with American Express to switch names several times, keep getting issue after issue. And so she looked into a different opportunity through Chase with a Visa card instead, which is more widely accepted anyway. And there's no annual fee where we're paying $95 a year for American Express. So, I mean, there's a billion reasons why it would behoove us to change rather than stay and just cancel the old card and get a new one. So, but we would need board authorization for that.
Okay. All right, you've heard the recommendation of the general manager. Moved by Mac, second by Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you. Okay, next up, as mentioned in the executive committee report, the Cloverleaf discharge pipes. This is the lowest area of our levee along Section E North. Late last fall, the Scully Corporation met with us out at the site to discuss us possibly filling in with dirt over and between their discharge pipes to get that level up to the rest of our levee in that area. And they verbally agreed to it, and so I drafted a letter agreement that I sent to them back in February. They finally got us some comments late last week. So I did send those over to Ryan. I don't think he's had a chance to review them yet. Their requests, in addition to what I had sent them based on a previous letter agreement that I got as a go-by from our legal counsel, they just wanted to specify that we'd be responsible for any damages caused while we were filling, that the road that we use to access would be repaired when done if needed, that we wouldn't track any heavy equipment over the pipes in the future, nothing more than a zero turn, which is what we were planning on doing anyway. And that if in the future they need to repair or replace their pipes, we'd work with them to remove that dirt and replace it after. And that we'd monitor subsidence around the pipes and fill gaps when needed. To me, it was all very reasonable things that we were probably going to do anyway. And so I don't see an issue with that. So I would recommend that the board move approving the letter agreement pending the recommendation of legal counsel between Southwest Levee District and General Agricultural Services, LLC, for earth and embankment cover on the Cloverleaf Farms pump station discharge pipes, and to authorize the general manager or the board president to sign and execute any relevant documents.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our general manager to accept the agreement with the Scully Corporation. Moved by Mr. Rowland, second by Monty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, the Mississippi River Commission held their high water inspection April 11th and 12th. So the commission is appointed by the President of the United States, vetted by the Senate. It includes 3 Corps of Engineers employees. They're typically the Mississippi Valley Division commander and 2 other commanders from divisions that within the Mississippi watershed. There's 1 employee from National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. There we go, 3rd time's a charm. And 3 civilians, 2 of which have to be civil engineers. So the MRC, they recommend policy changes and recommend projects for flood control, navigation, restoration along the Mississippi River and its tributaries. So they conduct 2 annual inspections, one for high water season, one for low water. This was their high water inspection trip that they took in April. The first day, they invite non-federal sponsors to accompany them on the inspection, which is great because you have the Corps of Engineers, the state of Louisiana, all literally on a boat. They have nowhere to go, so they have to talk to you and have to listen. So it was great. And then the following day is a public hearing that they hold. So I was able to go and give comments on our situation where we're trying to get back into the rehabilitation and inspection program, and was able to discuss that with General Peoples, who's over the Mississippi Valley Division, over Colonel Jones in the New Orleans District. So made her aware of the whole situation and the push that we're making through Congressman Graves' office through the Water Resources Development Act this year. So that was very beneficial. Next up, the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office hosted a media relations training for public bodies. So it was attended by myself, fire district, sheriff's offices, police offices, and parish government employees from various parts of the state, of Baton Rouge, Folsom, Jefferson Parish, all around here too. And so it helped to teach us how to conduct interviews in emergencies, how to word social media posts so that you're giving good information, the right information to the right people at the right times, controlling rumor mills, and just keeping everybody informed as best as you can, especially in an emergency. It was hosted by a guy, Brennan Mathern. I hear he has a really good-looking brother, but other than that,
Oh my God, there we go.
So the Ted Gisclair Lock funding update. So as I reported at a previous meeting, we had Gordy Dove, who's now CPRA chairman. He put $15 million as a request for us to receive in surplus funding for this year. If y'all been following the legislative session, all surplus funding went to DOTD, and that was the governor's way of putting money all throughout the entire state instead of just having pet projects. Since then, there has been another possibly around $80 million of surplus funding identified, and so that's going to be brought up in a bill through the Senate side of where that funding is going to go. Last conversation I had with CPRA is that they were going to be requesting 40 of that $80 million for various projects. I'm pushing to get the whole 15 million in. We may have to settle for 10 or 5 at this point, since the majority of the surplus money, the governor decided to send it to DOTD. If that happens, it's not a dead end. We could still potentially make it work with 10 million or even 5 million and finding another funding partner, hopefully locally, that rely on us to operate that lock regularly. So we'll see how those conversations go, but I know that they're potentially open to funding at least a portion of the construction of that lock if we needed additional funds at the end. So I'll keep y'all posted as the session plays out. We're following this very closely, just communicating with CPRA earlier today to make sure that we're not missing out on anything. So hopefully that'll be moving along shortly. We've also have the 15 million that we requested for the parish to get through the hazard mitigation grant program. I know Joe was on a call, actually the day that we were on the high water inspection with the Corps. We had a conference call with GOSEP about some of their concerns with the project and what they consider a lack of modeling, that if we have to do a little bit of modeling to appease them and to prove to them that this is going to work and we get $15 million from it, it's probably a good investment. So, but the parish has been trying to schedule a follow-up call with FEMA and hasn't really had any luck yet. So it's trying to get a lot of people in one place at a time. It's been problematic. The East Side Drainage Project is a parish project that they received some statewide flood control funding from DOTD a few years back to improve drainage canals inside the levee system between the bayou and the eastern edge of our levee. So on the 308 side, basically, of Bayou Lafourche. They've done a lot of that internal drainage work. The last piece was to construct a new drainage pump station. They were planning on putting it at the end of the Valerie Canal, which is south of Globally Farms. So a little bit north of pump station number 6. What Wendell had started to discuss with the parish, just prior to me getting here, and what I've continued since, is instead of putting that pump station at the end of the Valerie Canal, where we have no access at this point, we have to create some kind of access for our guys to get there. We'd have to create a whole new pump station, a whole new diesel storage facility. We have to create a new bridge crossing the Barrow Canal. There's just a billion reasons why that's not a great place to put it. When just south of where they wanted to put it, we can add on the side of pump station number 6, where we already have all the infrastructure in place, access, everything we need. And it's at the end of the Breton Canal, where hopefully after today we'll be authorizing to go to construction on that Weir project that would allow more water to come here. These additional 2 pumps could be the ones that are handling that water on a daily basis. So it makes all kind of sense to put it there. We met with DOTD, with their engineers and their personnel who manage the statewide flood control program. They seem to have no issues with it as long as we can prove that the hydraulics are not going to be any different. So the good news there is that a company called FTN that does modeling, they've already got the entire system modeled. It would just be to conduct another model run with that pump station moved a little further south. So that'd be a very minimal effort for the parish to undertake. So I'll keep you all updated as that moves forward. But depending on how the costs play out, because obviously things have gotten more expensive in the last couple of years since they originally put this project together, it may require us to go out for our own statewide flood control grant next year. So if we need to do that, we'll move forward with that. And then lastly, a state and federal legislative update. On the state level, we had requested about $400,000 to get digital staff gauges and climate stations put in at all of our pump stations and our 2 gates that would be accessible through phone or website that anybody in the public could see. So they would tell us wind speed, wind direction, it would tell us rainfall, it would tell us temperature, water levels inside and outside of the system. The original capital outlay bill, this was not included. Got with Joe, and through an amendment we were able to get the $400,000 put into an amended capital outlay bill. So it's in there. But now the uphill battle is that it's in priority 5, which if you know anything about capital outlay, that means we're not getting money this year. It's not real money. So I'm working now with Senator Fazie's office to try to push it up to priority 1 instead of priority 5. So I'll update you all on that as that plays out. And on the federal side, as was mentioned in the executive committee report, the Morganza Action Coalition, they've asked us to reconsider joining with them. Part of the benefit of doing that would be that we would have access to a federal lobbyist, their lobbyist in Acorn Consulting, who's out of DC. Their lobbyist was actually here at our March meeting that y'all may have gotten to meet him, Mike Henry. Mike has been working with me on fine-tuning the language for the WRDA bill that we're going to be trying to push through to get our program back into the Corps' rehabilitation and inspection program and get them to acknowledge that the work that we've done since 2005 has not damaged their project at all, and that we've in fact improved. And so the next battle after that's going to be to try to get credit towards our cost share with the federal government for all the work that we've done while they've been kind of sitting on the sidelines. So, but we had a conference call with Garrett Graves last Thursday to kind of workshop some of that language. So that's Garrett's directly involved in it. And the reason we're going with Garrett instead of Steve Scalise, who's our congressman, is Garrett's on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee where the Water Resource Development Act is originated from. So as soon as we get that language fine-tuned, I've been in communication with Congressman Scalise's staff, so they're aware of it and what we're doing. So we'll keep them in the loop as we move forward. So, but if there are no questions, that's my report.
Any questions for Nick? All right, thanks, Nick. Moving on to the engineering report, CPRA. Daniel, you have anything?
The only thing I had was what Nick already addressed.
You're welcome.
Funding. Huh?
You're welcome.
Always talking. But as of like 3, right before this meeting, I know Ty gave me kind of the same update, said it's still nothing like the Senate hadn't taken that bill to the floor yet, so it's, who knows when, but should be soon and over. I had nothing else.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Corps of Engineers, over here. Picciolo and Associates, I'm sorry, Joe.
Okay, on the La Rose Lock project, we're just continuing to support Nick in his efforts to get the funding lined up. We had meetings with FEMA and HMGP to discuss funding. We do have all the plans and specs, everything's ready to go. And we are also working with Ryan Collins regarding right-of-way plans. On Section E North levee improvements, Construction Site Specialties is the contractor. This is the project out by Cloverly. We're digging 3 pits and elevating the levee. They're all been on site working, moving material when the weather permits. They have been making progress, although slow at some times. So we do have pay application number 5 in the amount of $74,228.01. We do recommend you approve that.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay application number 5 in the amount of $74,228.01 to Construction Site Specialties. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Moved by Brett, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Okay, and maintenance of the north sector gates at Lake Ontario Lock, Sea Level Construction's the contractor. They completed this project, so we're just basically doing the closeout on the documents. So we do have change order number 1 in the amount of $37,500 and 6 extra contract days. This is for additional work performed on the gates themselves during the repairs. So we recommend you approve that.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our engineer for change order number 1 in the amount of $37,500. Moved by Mac, second by Monty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
We also have the certificate of substantial completion from Sea Level, and we do recommend you approve that.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to accept the completion certificate from Sea Level. Moved by Scott, second by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
And we also have pay application number 3 in the amount of $129,437.50, and we recommend you approve that.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of our engineer. Pay application number 3 to Sea Level in the amount of $129,437.50. Moved by Mac, second by Monty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Okay, on Section A East levee improvements, this is on the east side from basically Yankee Canal all the way down to the lock. We had our plans and specs reviewed by CPRA, and they requested us to do some additional geotechnical work. Usus Engineering has done all the field work, and they're starting to do analysis now. We had some preliminary cross-sections sent back to us last week, kind of send them back some comments, and we hope to have the analysis complete within the next week or so. On the replacement of discharge pipe at pump station number 8, Sea Level Construction is the contract on this project. This project is also complete, and we're wrapping up all the paperwork. they have submitted change order number 1 in the amount of $4,720 for extra work and an additional 6 contract days for their completion, and we do recommend you approve that.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer for change order number 1, the amount of $4,720, sea level. Moved by Scott, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
And they've also submitted the certificate of substantial completion, and we recommend you approve that.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to accept the completion, the substantial completion from sea level. Moved by Monty, second by Mitch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
And Sea Level has also submitted pay application number 3 in the amount of $22,684.50, and we do recommend you pay that.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of engineer, pay application number 3, $22,684.50 to sea level. Moved by Brett, second by Mitch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
And repairs to the north gate structure, this is the concrete repairs to the gate where they were impacted by the barge while the gates were out. We did prepare a set of plans and specifications. We started advertising this past Friday, and we will accept bids on June the 6th, just prior to your next meeting. And I have one more item, the repairs to the pump number 1 and pump station number 2. We did have a special meeting last week. We did solicit 3 bids. We received 2 bids, and the low bidder was Bolin Marine in the amount of $162,790 even, and you approved that last week. I did speak to Bolin. He has ordered all of the material, and he has started working on some repairs, the repairs that he can work on now. So he's moving along once we gave him the award last Wednesday afternoon.
What, a couple of weeks thinking?
He's saying more like 8 weeks.
8.
Yeah. It's a fairly
For parts.
extensive repair, and he has to wait for some of the material to come in. Basically the shafts and the pipe. Okay.
And what's the price on that north gate structure repair somehow? Did you come up with
We
something?
estimated around $350,000 in that range.
Is it 350?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Joe? Thank you. Okay, GIS engineering, John?
And just before John starts, just to remind you all that 350,000
It's
around is not just the repairs of the damage that was caused by the impact. That's as the consultant came in and did the assessment, there were a number of issues that were recommended to be changed. So it includes everything. When that's all done, we're going to submit that all to the boat company's insurance that actually impacted and start negotiating what they're going to pay for of that repair work.
John Blazons with GIS Engineering. First project is AE's retention. We finally got the last letter of no objection from Chevron like 2 weeks ago, so we are ready to start advertising. Once we get the servitudes in place, we have been working with Ryan and Ray Collins on getting that done. The D North Ramp project, as y'all may recall, we are hopefully going to get some material from the Alliant Company to perform this work. We are still kind of working out the final details on where that material will come from their property. Our contractor, Outer Limit, is ready to perform that work in the next couple of weeks or so. So hopefully we'll be able to get the Alliant to agree to that so they don't hold that contractor up in that work. And the work itself will be done sometime after hurricane season, probably in the fall and winter.
And I'll say GIS has done their part on this. We're waiting on the ALCO attorneys to respond. So that's what the holdup is, right?
The next project is the reconnection of Bread Canal by Lafourche. We took bids on that last month. The low quote was from Garden Environments, the low bid was from Garden Environments Inc. in the amount of $999,000 even. In order to award that, first y'all need to put it on y'all agenda, because it was not on the original agenda.
Okay. All right, you've heard the recommendation of our engineer to add the bid acceptance on our agenda.
We have to add it to the agenda
So
first.
we need a unanimous, so we need a roll
Yeah,
call
to
on
add
that.
the- okay.
Keith Gidry,
Yes.
Robin Holly is absent, Roland Curall, Mitch Dowell,
Yes.
Brett DeRoche.
Yes.
Scott Terrier,
Yes.
Mickey Lee Rowe,
Yes.
and Monty Bates.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay.
So now it's
And
getting-
now we recommend y'all award the construction contract to Garden Environments Inc.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to award the contract to Garden
Environments Inc.
Moved by Bonnie, second by Brett, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. Get that paperwork done.
Been
Yes,
waiting a
sir.
long time for that, John.
And finally, we have the D-South flood wall at Crawfish Farms Phase 3 improvements. We submitted that several months ago to Nick and CPRA for comments. We received comments from Nick, back, but we have not gotten review yet from CPRA. So we are waiting on them at this point.
John, I've got a question with the Brick Canal, where our people have cleared out all the way to the country club. Past that, is it clear, it's open to the pump station, or how that's gonna be?
Yes.
Okay. They-
I'm gonna say that, but I don't go past the
Yeah.
golf course any more than
I
you do.
do, yeah.
So, but I'm pretty sure they have, but there was not as much work to do once you got past there as well.
There is a small section that we can't really clear on either side, but closer to pump station number 6, we've cleared out on the opposite side.
Okay.
So we have access for pretty much the entirety of the run there.
Okay, any questions for John?
So that bid that we accepted was higher or lower than what we expected?
It was more like 5% or something like that.
Higher?
Higher, yes.
Yeah, nothing lower.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what we bid.
Also did,
What the bid was.
I also did confirm with the president of the drainage district, as it, whatever form, I guess it still exists. They still do have the funding, so they're gonna be sending us that check for the, I believe it's $878,000 or $880,000 they had agreed to. So most of that's getting paid for by the remainder of drainage district number 1.
And one more thing, Keith, I wanted to mention on the Breton Canal, if you go drive back to the country club, you can see the water in the canal, but just remember that if it wasn't for y'all levee, the water in that canal would be 8 feet higher than it is.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you, John. And you led design, Neil?
Yeah.
Yeah, Neil Angelette Design. On the C North levee improvements, this is on the north side of the system, the very western, northwest corner. That contractor, Pompo and Sons, is continuing work to raise that levee up to 13.5. He's only got a couple of weeks of work left to get that completed, and we're recommending approval of his invoice number 1253 in the amount of $124,817.50.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay Compo and Sons invoice 1253, the amount of $124,817.50. Moved by Matt, second by Mitch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
All right, next project is C-South flood side repairs. This is just a little south of that area on the west side, from the Apache Farm all the way down to the Basin Pump Station. That contractor, Compo and Sons, is working on the project to rebuild that flood side berm of the levee. We're recommending approval of his invoice number 1252 in the amount of $73,893.75. And the work that he's doing is what you see on the very left side of the picture.
Yeah, well, okay, you've heard the recommendation of our engineer to pay Compo and Sons invoice 1252, the amount of $73,893.75. Moved by Mr. Rowland, second by Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, on LaRose floodwall vessel impact barrier, this is on the northeast side of the system along the LaRose floodwall from the Mercer boat launch up to the Intracoastal Overpass. That contract, the Lowland Construction, has completed work on driving all of the piles, and he's currently wrapping the piles with cables and putting caps on top. He does have some additional signage and solar lighting that he has to put in a few key areas as per Coast Guard. But we're recommending approval of his pay app number 5 in the amount of $369,360.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay Lowland, pay application number 5, the amount of $369,360. Moved by Monty, second by Mac. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carried.
Okay, and last project is the Section F berm improvements. This is on the east side in LaRose from the back of the Delta Farm area all the way to Clovelly Farm. That contractor, Sea Level Construction, is working to do a major improvement on the protected side berm, as you can see in the photo here. We're recommending his pay app number 7 in the amount of $586,910.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our engineer. Pay application number 7 to Sea Level in the amount of $586,910. Moved by Brett, second by Mitch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Also on this same project, we have a change order for your consideration. It's for an additional 10,000 cubic yards of material at the current contract price of $20.20 a yard. This is additional material needed to complete the existing or the original template that we have designed. It's about a 6% overrun from the original contract quantity of 153,000 cubic yards, I believe. So we feel like it's going to be somewhere in the 8,000 to 10,000 yard range. We'd like to get 10,000 yards approved, and then we'll do a balancing change order at the end of the job if it needs to be deducted.
All right.
There's also an additional 30 days added to the contract time for this work.
That's
Yes,
all
sir.
included. Okay. Heard the recommendation engineer, change order number 1 in the amount of $202,000. Moved by Brett, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
That's all.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
And just a note, I went ride on Sea North last week, and you guys get a chance when you go, that's impressive what we doing there with that berm and everything. Jump in a truck and go see it. Okay, Delta Coast, anybody here from Delta Coast? Anybody here from Allsouth, the famous Stevie Smith?
The famous.
You know, I don't want to get you to the bench.
No, you can't.
He's losing some weight, so.
We don't want to confuse with them guys from Dularge too much. I gotta admit though, when the assessor left, I told her I had a 5th grade science project I needed done, I was gonna borrow that, and be in my 5th grade. I ain't never seen it this like that before.
Did it work?
So I got a couple of projects to report on. The first one is the Golden Meadow Marsh Terraces that are on your agenda again. We submitted an application for funding to FEMA through what's called the BRIC Grant, Building Resilient Communities Grant. That application has been submitted. We haven't heard back on that application yet. Again, just to remind the board, it's about a 50-acre site down there just west of Golden Meadow. If the project is funded, we could build about 50 acres plus or minus some marsh right there to protect the levee. Okay.
And where is this at? That's at the,
This is Oak Ridge Park here.
at the park? Okay.
Protect my house.
All right.
It's just north of the Apache dock and everything, I guess, if you think about it.
Yeah.
This is pump station number 1 here.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay.
But just for information, it's about a $3.7 million project that we estimated when we made the application. And again, we expect to hear something. It'll be a month or two before you hear anything on that. It's not like they're rushing through that, okay?
The next project is the terrace repair over on Reach K. Terraces that were damaged in Hurricane Barry that are part of the mitigation for Reach K. You may recall that the Terrebonne Levee District is actually conducting these repairs as basically as your contractor. So this work has been going on since about mid-April. We were waiting a while for the Terrebonne Levee District to get their machine back from the repair shop, but now it's on site and working. There's about 7,000 linear feet of terraces that need to be repaired. I expect them to have over half of that done by the end of this month. And again, did we get some of those pictures, Nick? Are some of those in there? Nope, I guess not.
Nope,
again, they're building terraces, so marsh buggy working, just capping the terraces where it got eroded for Hurricane Barry. Again, I really expect that whole project to be finished by the end of June. The way they're working pretty steadily, okay? The next project on our list is, it's not actually on the agenda, and I'll get it, but it's Reach K. This board, you may recall that the board agreed to contribute about $250,000 to continuing work on Reach K a few months ago. These are some photos of the work going on Reach K. This is between Pointe-aux-Chenes and basically cut off up to I think we call it the Reggie Bagala floodgate now, is what it's referred to as, right? About 6 or 7 miles. The contractor here is a combination of onshore and lowland. Lowland is delivering the dirt and onshore is shaping it. This work is going pretty well. Again, if you think back to this was where the mitigation levee was. We refer to it as the mitigation levee. It was constructed as mitigation for the South Lafourche levee system 40 years ago. Now this levee is up to about a +11. Between Pointe-aux-Chenes and the first water control structure going from south to north, it's up to about 11. That work should be done, again, probably by the end of June, and then we're going to move into the section between the two water control structures and get that up to a +11. So truthfully, there's a lot more protection in that part of the world than there was just a few years ago. And I think the last item on the agenda is FEMA updates. 2 things here. We think we finally got FEMA and GOSEP to understand the work that was done in Grand Bayou and from the Temple launch going south to the Bagala floodgate. We've been arguing, again, I know board members, you've heard me recite this many times, been arguing over about $2.5 million in reimbursements to this board. We have concurrence on how you describe that work and the fact that it is reimbursable. I expect that project work to be obligated in the next 30 days. And the good news about that is very shortly after that, you'll probably get 90% of 2.2 million, which is a number I can't calculate very quickly, but probably about $2 million, right? Will be coming back to this board in the next 3 months for that work. So that's a good thing. You expended that money 2.5, 3 years ago now. We'll be getting it back in another couple of months. Right? Did I miss another thing? The RIP program, which we've got to shake some trees on the RIP program. And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Stevie. Okay, moving on, legal permits, right away, Mitch, anything?
Yeah, we got 3 this month. First one is CPRA, next one is Bollinger Fouchon, and Lafourche Parish Government. After reviewing these 3, looking the board to approve these permits.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of our chairman, right-of-way committee chairman, to approve. Motion by Brett, second by Monty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Mr. President, just for informational purposes, the Lafourche Parish permit there is for improvements to the Mercer boat launch on the Intercoastal and LaRose. Drake and I had started meeting with Dylan Baroni, the Public Works Director of the parish. We're going to do that once a month just so that we're all coordinating and we know what's going on with each other's entities. And this is a good example of why, because talking through this boat launch, their improvements or their proposed improvements stop at the cyclone fence, if you're familiar with that launch. That on the other side of that is a grassy area that actually belongs to us. It's our property. And so we recommended to them just to remove that cyclone fence and add additional parking on our property. And that's going to have to go through the board, and we'll have agreements in place for that. But it would allow us to not have to cut the grass there. And it would also deter people from parking on the levee like they do because there's such limited parking there. We had just last week, we had someone park, not just on the levee, but on top of the levee, right next to the wall, almost kind of like a slap in the face it felt, but, because the parish has put out signs saying no parking on the levee or you'll be towed, but, so we'll continue to workshop that with the parish to see if they can expand that boat launch parking even further.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Attorney, any?
Just to update y'all, we submitted our brief to the First Circuit, so we're just waiting. There's gonna be, oral arguments are gonna be set soon. We'll get to go do that, but we submitted on that, so we'll wait to hear back. Once we do, we'll make that argument, see how the First Circuit rules, if they uphold, their judgment on that LA contracting case, or if they kick us back down to the First Circuit, to the judicial court, or if they make a separate ruling, but we'll have that and all the y'all as that comes. We just submitted that Friday, so I'm hoping to get with John, GIS, and Joe over at PCO on those couple of right-of-ways.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Finance Committee, Monty?
Yes, Mr. President, Finance Committee met prior to this meeting and reviewed all invoices and recommended they be paid as presented.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of Finance Committee Chairman to pay all invoices. Moved by Max, second by Scott. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
Personnel Committee, again, Monty.
All right, Mr. President, in y'all package, gentlemen, y'all got a copy of this. Mayor spent some time revising and changing job titles to match the description of what they're actually doing, a little more clear. So we're gonna update the policy and procedure manuals, and the Personnel Committee met and approved these changes, so just want y'all in motion to approve.
Okay. You heard the recommendation of our Personnel Committee that we accept the new changes and evaluation. Moved by Max, second by Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
That's it.
Okay. Any old business? Any old business? Any new business? New business. No need for executives. Okay, all right. Okay, I entertain a motion. Then we adjourn. Moved by Matt, second by Scott. Then we adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. It's a wrap.